I have your attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, to another podcast here with the Crew Podcast of I Speaks, and we speak with building new legacy. I think my engineer may have to mute her sound because I can hear myself in the background doing this right now live. So we're going to navigate tech issues very quickly. We want to thank all of you that have been patient. We on in our body self, in our soul.
I don't know what's going on, but you keep going in and out. It's not showing you have no signal. Dr. Chen, you keep, I don't know what's going on with your connection, but you keep dropping in and out. I don't know what's going on. Dr. Chen,
Can only. Hmm. Well, listeners, it looks like the technology is not letting us stay on and live right now. So I take it that that may be another sign.
okay, I can see you now, but for some reason you were going in and out. You kept going in and out.
Okay. Okay. There's a lot happening. We've had some weather, but it hasn't been the type of weather that has taken us to that particular space. And most of the time we do have, the internet has been up and running. Are you hearing me more clearly now? Beautiful. Beautiful. So let me go back to part of the beginning. So, for those that have had a chance to hear part of what's been shared tonight, this is a return, an opening of our 2026 season for the Crew podcast. And this is Queen Mother Dr. ChenziRa of AST Speaks. We focus on conversations, dialogue, versations around building new legacy. We also speak of knowledge, power, sovereignty, reparations, repatriation, and all things that are uplifting. There are times where we may have guests that will speak to holistic health and wellness, as well as natural ways of engaging in healing and keeping the body system, the spirit systems, the soul systems in the heights of balance and harmony. We always start in the beginning with reflections and veneration to our ancestors and to our Almighty Creator in all things that we speak and do. To the best of our ability, we highlight information that has been vetted, information that's not questionable, things that we do not need to be skeptical about. And we highlight also information that shifts from artificial intelligence in its more temporal form to ancestral intelligence, the AI that is in the heights. The other part that's really important of some of the things that we bring truth to light, truth as power, and truth within power are the questionable areas. There's a number of people that are highlighting this time of the year, the month of February, in the 48 contiguous and pretty much significant portions of the Western Hemisphere and other parts of the world as well. February is highlighted for a number of things, but in the in respect to the work of the honorable historian, scholar, and obviously an activist, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the month of February is highlighted as African Black History Month. And there's a number of achievers, a number of contributors, a number of persons and institutions that are highlighted during this month. So while it may be referred to as the shortest month of the year, because it is only 28 days, sometimes 29 every 4 years, this is also a time where we get to celebrate and highlight or to really hone in on contributors to Black history, African history, which impacts world history. And for as many of us, when we are celebrating and acknowledging this time of the year, it brings a number of issues to the forefront. So I am going to take a moment and really highlight some things around Dr. Carter G. Woodson and the for those persons that may not be familiar with the organization that he was very um, was the founder of, and that still exists. When people speak of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, I'll say that again, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, for short, ASALA. And again, this was established in 1915. So they're actually really over a century old. This was a time where, yes, Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded what was then the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which of course shifted to Black life and history, which shifted to African American life and history, as it's known now. But it also was the year before Dr. Carter G. Woodson established the Journal of Negro History, which was in 1916. I think it's really important to also reflect on one of his more notable works. He wrote quite extensively, but I think it's important to remember that text, The Miseducation of the Negro, that Dr. Carter G. Woodson penned and authored with extreme research that grounded the work, and that was in 1933. Again, more than 15 years after the founding of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. I just think it's important for persons to just have the context. So it's, yes, now in 2026 we celebrate African Black History Month. However, it had a very powerful origin, a very powerful root, a very powerful beginning in the early 1920s. That he also initiated Negro History Week, and from that, Negro History Week grew into Negro History Month, that grew into Black History Month, that grew into African American History Month, and people say African History Month in general. And I would be remiss if I didn't highlight that this also impacted and influenced the establishment of African History Month in the Eastern Hemisphere, specifically in in the UK, in Britain, where in the month of October, that's where a lot of African History Month, that's the month designated for African History Month celebrations, collaborative engagements, cooperative programs, and much, much more to really celebrate the achievements, the contributions, the commitment, dedication of many leaders, many scholars, scientists, artists, agriculturalists, and much, much more. I think it's really important too to know that Dr. Carter G. Woodson earned his PhD in history from Harvard University in 1912. So let's just look at the how this manifested. 1912, he's graduating with a PhD in history from Harvard. 1915, he's establishing an association for the study of Negro life and history. 1916, he's establishing the Journal of Negro History. 1926, well, 1920s in between, founded the whole celebration of Negro History Week into Negro History Month, into Black History Month, moving into African American History Month, and for some, just simply African History Month. And then authors the Miseducation of the Negro in 1933. So part of this conversation is to really just give us a thread of some of the celebrations, how this came to be for persons that are not familiar with Asala. I encourage people to just look for the Association for the Study of African American History and Life. I think African American life and history, I think it's really important for persons to just get an idea of what this powerful founder, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, was able to establish from his birth in 1875 to his becoming an ancestor in 1950, and just the powerful achievements that he was able to accomplish, and the institutions, associations, research, publications, and educational techniques and strategies that he provided over the course of his life. I just think it's really important to know that he worked as a, worked for the US government at one point while he was working in the Philippines. I just think it's important to just know the types of things that this powerful ancestor did, to actually study history extensively, and then to, utilize his studies, whether he was at Bredea in Kentucky, whether he was at the University of Chicago, where he also received a another bachelor's degree and then a master's in European history in 1908. I could be off in that year, but because I'm doing my best to just kind of highlight for persons, if you'd like to go to the asalh.org, again, asalh.org, you would find out even more information about Dr. Carter G. Woodson at your leisure. I think it's important to also look at some of the publications that came during his time, specifically through the Journal of Negro History, which impacted many other publications. And this was happening parallel to the formation of the Universal Negro Improvement Association in Jamaica, led by the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, with the support, in its initial stages, with the support of his first wife, Amy Ashwood Garvey, and then how that developed into a larger government movement. For some, they tend to refer to it primarily as the Back to Africa movement, but it was African fundamentalism. It was early Pan Africanism. It was entrepreneurship, economic development and drivers, and protections and security. Addressing our medical and health and wellness needs. With the Black Cross nurses and different organizations to support the training of nurses and physicians. Within the African community, and this is early 20th century, and then to have security, to have the militia, the military, more correctly, that supported the UNIA and protected people, especially during the time where lynching and other forms of terrorism and injustices were very prevalent. It's important to see that these things were happening. So that was 1914 for the UNIA, expansions and new developments by 1918, 1919. And then in 1920, one of the largest gatherings of, more than 25,000 delegates from around the world, representing more than a membership of more than 4 million Black people in 1920. And those delegates met in Madison Square Garden. I want persons to get that in their head. Black people having a Universal Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League convention in Madison Square Garden in New York in August 1920. Pause on that. That. That's African Black History Month. That's African Black history. That's world history. And as quiet as it's kept, that's an integral part of the history of the 48 contiguous United States, whether they like it or not, because it did happen. It's not what we want to add meaning or interpretations to. This is what did happen, and this was happening parallel to an entire era of injustice coming from law enforcers, lynchings coming from unjust ones, and institutions that were consistently and relentlessly attempting to diminish the contributions, the achievements of many people of African ancestry in the world, not just in the 48 contiguous US, in the world. So I say that, and I kind of reel back into a couple of other conversations, because this is a time where we would like to also highlight some of the more positive engagements and support our sisters and brothers that are doing a variety of great work in the region. While I sit, and I made sure that tonight I kept for my brothers and sisters that are in Arctic, temperate zone, sub-zero, wind chill factors kind of weather, I'm sending a lot of sunshine and warmth your direction. And I'm praying that for those that don't acknowledge the reality of climate change and the importance of us transforming our environs and our environment immediately, that some ease comes to everyone. It shouldn't be so cold. There shouldn't be so much ice, and warmth can soothe. It's good to have a cool breeze, but we don't wish for it to be where it's damaging to the point where people have no electricity in a time where electricity is essential, where people don't have access to heat at a time where heat is essential. So we're just sending a lot of prayers and actionable prayers, not just that we have well wishes for you, but that whatever means are required and essential for persons to remain safe and secure and healthy can be made manifest to the best of our ability. So I just kind of send some of the Caribbean drop, because for us, we consider it cool the minute it goes below 70. So, and then people complain and bring out blankets and comforters when it's in the 60s, especially in areas like in our rainforest areas or our wetland areas, because it does get what we consider cool. But that's because we're used to 85 to 90 degrees all the time, right? So we're just sending extra tropical sunshine, warmth, and blessings in abundance in that regard. Because this also does a lot of things in terms of making people's body systems. Our body systems are not designed for these extreme temperature shifts and changes. So it's really important that persons, make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you have things that are warm, to start your day as well as to close your day. Make sure that you minimize sodium and salt. Salt just it'll make you cooler. It just shuts down certain body systems that will naturally just keep your body at a appropriate temperature without creating, draft, coughing, any kind of flu situation, any kind of bronchial uh, phlegm drawing kind of situation. This is a great time to, unless you have allergies to citrus, it's a great time to do, lemonade. You don't need ice. Doesn't have to be cold. But some lemonade, preferably with agave. If you need to have it sweetened, agave, maybe cane sugar, some honey for those that can ingest that. But it's good to stay hydrated. Lemonade, grapefruit juice, and I'm going to say that fresh grapefruit juice, fresh lemonade, fresh orange juice. You know, build some body bones and strengthen your eyes and your liver. Carrot juice, and it's good to mix the carrot with some apple or celery. For some people, they can do green juices, whether it's spinach or kale. For some, it may be a tad more appropriate to use like Swiss chard. Little may seem a little bitter, but bitter's good sometimes. But there's so many different things. It's good to have, cold in the temperate zone. You gotta remember those herbs like golden seal, colt's foot, peppermint, basil, mugwort. There's a number of things that you can begin to drink, ingest, so that your body system can stay at an optimum level and that your immune system is as strong as possible, right? But you don't want to like go into a serious cleanse while you're in the midst of weather that you're not accustomed to, especially if it's too cold, right? So it's important, you want to eat well. And even if you eat small portions throughout the day, it's better than just overeating or not even eating enough to nourish your body system. It's really important to nourish your body system. Soups are during the winter season. Soups are just your friends. They're really, you know, I've been craving pumpkin soup, so I'm just gonna put that out there to all my brothers and sisters. They just know, I love pumpkin soup, and I like pumpkin soup, coconut milk, fresh coconut milk. Just saying for those that want to give gifts. And this is also a time for us to give a deep breath to our brothers and sisters that went through yet another opening, closing of one year, opening of a new year, and with a significant amount of loss and transformation in their family structures and their lives. We give prayers to those that are still in mourning, still healing from losing loved ones. And we also equitably give thanks and praise for those that have brought in new life, for all the new babies born, that help us to restore our hope and our vision so that we stop just speaking of survival for the sake of survival where we thrive, survival where we can move forward and stay in a heightened space with a lot of love and a lot of care. There's going to be a very powerful shift in these next broadcasts, at least for the I Speaks piece, primarily because some of the things that I'll be sharing will be from some of the publications. Some of it is going to be poetic because I'm also doing very excited about the poetry publications that our visionary sister Queen Angela has made possible for many of us that not just dabble, but actually use poetry as our poetic voice so that we can begin to speak of things. So when we think of things like have a purpose in your life. So your life is not full of strife. Live your purpose each and every day so you can live in Yahweh. Have a purpose in all you do so your life is forever true. That's just an excerpt of one of the pieces that I have composed that actually became a song. We'll come to that one in another broadcast because tonight's broadcast was scheduled to start at 8. And since we started a tad late, we're going to still close at the top of the hour to respect everyone's time because I know persons may have partitioned some time to tune in with us here at All Speaks as we build new legacies together until the top of the hour. So I'm going to share a piece that I have that's around the divinity of our women folk. The divinity in each of our women allows for us to uncover, to experience, to restore order and balance, to share life, to remember, not just remember, but to lighted memory in all that we share and we do, to speak of the openings, the gateways, what some refer to as chakras, the openings that allow for women to share, to learn, to care, to live, and practically experience one another, our rutical aspects of our center, our existence, how we reflect on womb manifesting, not just manifesting, but womb manifesting from a very deep space at the center of our soul source, at the center of our womb. It's learning how to maintain womb wellness and strength, to stay centered, to stay strong, to stay balanced. It's how we establish a transformational journey. Is it a transformative journey or is it a transformational journey? Hmm. As we begin to ponder on things that are really important, how do we ponder on those things that share with us technologies that are far exceeding anything artificial? For us, intelligence is ancestral. For us, even emotional intelligence gives us grace. For us, SI, spiritual intelligence, reigns even further and deeper and wider in a space that allows for each and every one of us to stay balanced, harmonious, divine, righteous, truthful, and as harmonious as we may sound, it will keep us at the center of our spaces of joy, our spaces of love, our spaces of care, our spaces of respect, our spaces of loyalty, our spaces of honor, our spaces of sovereignty. And not just any type of sovereignty, but that sovereignty that authentically keeps us free. That sovereignty that honors, respects, and compassionately nurtures and cares for our essence as the humans that we are living in a mortal frame, moving into a realm of immortality, so that we truly are in the likeness and the image of the Almighty, with grace, with gratitude, with a humility that is so powerful. Some people actually think that we're arrogant, and it's not that at all. It's simply that we're moving in a space of honor and grace and truth because we no longer just believe. We don't be lying. We no longer just believe. We know, and we stay grounded in what in our ancestral legacy we refer to as Jesek Tepi Nefer. Know yourself for the greatest and highest good. So, with that being said, and as I said earlier, we love to respect everyone's time. And if we say 8 to 9, at 9:01, we're going to close this particular broadcast tonight out. So, we look forward for you joining us again. And make sure you tune in 8 p.m. throughout the week to listen to the Crew podcast. We've got some dynamic broadcasters that have a lot to share, a lot that they care about, and they're bringing it to you. So share the network and join us again on the first and third Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Atlantic, with your host, Queen Mother Dr. ChenziRa, here on I Speaks. Remember, culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. Giving thanks. Many blessings. Until the next time, remain inspired. Good night. Hotep. Peace.